Hey everyone, welcome back to Heal My Cosmos. I'm Jenny Lee. This is a podcast that is meant to return you to who you really are on a soul level through astrology and higher self guidance and energy healing. So, today we're diving into the Cancer new moon that is happening on July 14th, 2026, and it occurs at 21 degrees of Cancer. So the sun is what wakes us up in the morning. It's our ambition. And like every new moon on July 14th, the sun comes together with the moon. And so they'll both be in the sign of Cancer at that 21 degrees. The moon connects us with our ability or lack thereof to adapt to what the sun is currently ambitious about, right? And so when they come together, the sun is like, look, I'm ambitious about this. And the moon is like, okay, I can adapt to that. And because Cancer rules the moon naturally, this is an energy that it's very familiar with. So that is definitely a plus and a strength of this new moon. In the sign of Cancer, the sun is ambitious about creating comfort and bringing a sense of home to each situation. Cancer is all about the home and the comfort. Since the moon is the natural ruler of Cancer, it doesn't have to do much to adapt to the sun, right? So because it already knows that energy, it's very familiar, it's in its home turf, it doesn't have to adapt very much. So this homey like comfort that the new moon is bringing, although there is another planet that's working with the sun and the moon during the new moon, and that planet is our dear friend Mercury, who is currently retrograde, right? So this planet of communication and information sharing, giving and receiving is also conjunct the sun and the moon and a part of this new moon. And so the sun and the moon are at 21 degrees and Mercury is at 19 degrees. So it's only 2 degrees, still a conjunction. And there is a Cancer stellium created by the sun, the moon, and Mercury in Cancer at 19 and 21 degrees. This force, this cluster of Cancer energy comes together at that new moon. All three of these planets are personal planets. So we experience them on a much more personal level than the outer planets. Mercury retrograde in Cancer invites us into a review, right? And so we've been in this review of Cancer themes, right? So this review, this Mercury retrograde in Cancer, started on June 29th, and we are still in the thick of it. And here we are at the new moon, still in the thick of it. And the new moon is just creating this sort of kaleidoscope moment for us to actually take the moment to look and see, oh, okay, so these are parts of what's been going on in this review process that I wasn't aware of. And so the Cancer themes: emotional past, our upbringing, our family of origin, our ability to adapt, our patterns when it comes to processing our emotions or communicating them, right? Because Mercury is the planet of communication and Cancer is the sign of personal emotions. So this review period has a lot of these themes coming up, right? During all of the weeks of the retrograde. And again, the new moon is just kind of bringing things front and center, with the sun and the moon just able to bring a little bit more light to both what's happening in the light of day as well as what's happening in the shadow, what's happening underneath, what's happening beneath the skin of these bodies, right? What are we really feeling? So all of these planets, this Cancer stellium, the Sun, the Moon, Mercury in Cancer, are all in a square with Saturn in Aries. Now, squares are points of tension, and this is a cardinal square, and it's because Cancer and Aries are both cardinal signs. And cardinal signs are all about initiating. They are leadership signs, and Cancer being the first initiator of the emotional experience, and Aries being the first initiator of every experience, period, right? Being the first sign of the zodiac, period. There is this tension between our emotional experience and just our personal identity, who we are, what we want to move forward, right? And Aries can be a little bit impatient with Cancer because Cancer can kind of mope around and sit in feelings and seek comfort. And Aries is just like, well, let's just thrash through all of that and move forward, right? So they're both very personal signs. They're both signs that bring us back to self, but just in different ways. These Cancer and Aries planets in a square with each other during the new moon symbolizes an opportunity to recalibrate the balancing act of getting our own personal needs met emotionally and physically. Emotionally being the Cancer stellium energy and physically being the Aries energy. The physical body, our physical drive to move forward. Aries is ruled by Mars, which is our physical action, our masculine drive to do, to act, right? So these parts of us are in this tension place with each other. Saturn in Aries is also a part of the stellium or cluster of Aries energy. So we have Saturn in Aries representing self-discipline, and then we have asteroid points Pallas Athena, Vesta, and Eris, all at 20, 21, and 25 degrees of Cancer. No, 20, 21, and 25 degrees of Aries, also squaring the new moon and Cancer stellium of personal planets. So Pallas Athena in Aries, calling us into fierce independence. Vesta in Aries, reminding us of our inner flame, our inner fire of creativity. And Eris holding our gaze towards where we belong. So we've got this cluster of energy in Aries, cluster of energy in Cancer. Again, the Cancer cluster is a bit more personal because it's all personal planets. But the Aries energy is definitely packing a punch, especially with Saturn involved, and Saturn always being very serious and meaning business about whatever he is doing. And so in Aries, it is this self-discipline, right? And really not sacrificing that. So all of these points in Aries squaring the planets in Cancer are pushing us to let go of the parts of us, the parts of our past that we have outgrown and that don't meet us where we are actually going, right? So where we've been and where we're going, this square is highlighting that. So Jupiter, our planet of expansion and higher perspectives, newly in the sign of Leo since June 29th, is loosening out of a tight square, right? We just talked about how squares are points of tension. Jupiter in Leo came in to Leo and automatically hit this square with Chiron in Taurus. Now, Chiron is the wounded healer, always representing our vulnerability in some way, depending on what sign it's in. Now, Chiron in Taurus, it kind of hits on our wounding around our own stability and our ability to stabilize ourselves and our lives, right? And so this vulnerability squaring Jupiter and Leo, who just wants to be celebrated and seen and recognized and creative and really to expand our creativity, coming up against that immediate square with Jupiter, coming up against that immediate square with Chiron in Taurus, was a little bit of a downer for this, like the first running start of Jupiter in Leo. Especially depending on if you have planets or points in Taurus or Leo or the fixed signs in general. This really could have been confusing because we want to experience the highest potential of Jupiter and Leo, and that is in the mix. It is coming, but the square to Chiron and Taurus has really been kind of humbling for us. It's been this moment to reconsider, how can I be creative and stable at the same time, right? So in the square with Jupiter and Leo, we have experienced a weaker start, right? And it's also a stronger start, depending on your perspective. It could have felt like a weaker start. It could have felt like, oh wow, this doesn't feel very Leo to me. And I also see the purpose in me kind of going deeper into this vulnerability around how do I stabilize myself. As Jupiter continues to move on, we will feel more and more confident in what we are creating. And that interaction with Chiron will be something that strengthens our sense of stability as we move on as well. So Jupiter in Leo, now at 3 degrees during the new moon, is also building an exact opposition to Pluto in Aquarius at 4 degrees. The opposition will be exact between July 19th and the 21st. I will talk a little bit more about everything else happening during that time period in just a minute. So these are very strong outer planets, right? Jupiter, Pluto, in opposition to each other, right? They're both outer planets. They both are very strong in what they do, and they both do very different things. Ultimately, they're both very spiritual, right? Jupiter is connecting us to our higher evolution, our soul's path and ability to evolve. And Pluto is helping us do that deeper work, that deeper healing, transformational healing work, the shadow work that is necessary in order to evolve, right? And so Jupiter is trying to bring us up to the hawk's perspective and get us to see our tiny little human lives as something more grand and purposeful and meaningful, so that we can hold that perspective and feel more pride in our journey. Where Pluto is kind of pulling us into the undercurrents, the underbelly of, the stuff that we don't necessarily want to look at, the shadowy parts of our psyche and our subconscious mind, all of that stuff. And so with this opposition, we feel kind of pulled apart in these two directions. Jupiter in Leo wants to expand our ambition to create what we're here to create as individuals, and Pluto in Aquarius is like, do not move forward on anything without considering the ripple effects to those around you, right, in this larger collective group. So Pluto in Aquarius wants to deconstruct any false narratives that are contributing to collective chaos. And Jupiter in Leo has the power to set the record straight as it ignites the prowess in each of us to demask and reveal what makes us an integral part of the whole collective. Neptune, our planet of dissolving, right? Dissolving away what has expired in our lives, has recently gone retrograde. So on July 7th, Neptune went retrograde. And so it's newly retrograde, and it's a very slow moving planet to begin with. And so retrograde really kind of slows it down even more and has us reconnecting with what has gone missing in our ability to get the subtle cues of our higher self, our higher guidance. In this fire sign of Aries, right? Neptune being in this fiery first sign of Aries. Neptune rules the last sign of the zodiac, which is Pisces, which is about unity with all. And then it is in this first sign of the zodiac, Aries, which is about I am, my identity, not the unity, but me, right? And so in this sign of Aries at 4 degrees, forming a trine with Jupiter and Leo, right? Two fire signs creating this trine at 4 degrees. Trines are supportive aspects. They want to create ease and harmony. And so in the fire signs, they're very inspirational, these aspects, right? So Neptune trining this Jupiter in a fire sign is very uplifting, helping us really move past something and move into a more inspired action and more heart-driven action, especially because Leo energy is involved. And it does this while burning away the parts of the past that just don't fit anymore, right? So Neptune is about dissolving, and in Aries, it's about burning away, just like the slow burn, right? Like burning through the night, just burning this reluctant part of ourselves, this part that has clung to the ego, that has clung to fear, that has clung to the past, that has clung to blind spots, right? Because Neptune also can reveal blind spots. It can provide blind spots when needed, and it can also reveal where there has been blind spots. And so this trine is really just helping us feel inspired and moving forward and not dwelling in the past that is being burned away. So the planet of attraction and receiving, Venus, is now in the sign of Virgo at 5 degrees, squaring Uranus and Gemini at 4 degrees, as well as Mars and Gemini at 10 degrees. So Uranus and Gemini is helping us receive information from a higher place that supports progression toward the future. Venus in Virgo desires a system that will support the now. The square between the two definitely makes Venus uncomfortable. The South Node is also still in Virgo at 0 degrees. So it is also working with this Venus during the new moon. The South Node in Virgo is helping Venus get real about what is too much in terms of perfectionism. And with the two squaring Uranus and Gemini, there is a call to action that feels like Virgo's worst nightmare because it's asking us to let go of being thorough, to be curious about the options at hand that the South Node and Venus in Virgo have no plan for yet. The square between Mars and Gemini and Venus in Virgo is particularly unsettling to Venus, as Mars, in her eyes, has veered too far off the path. This Mars and Gemini, where even is he, right? That's what Venus is saying. And so she has invested in this path, and here he is veering off of it to explore other options. He's trying to explore all options, and she needs to know which one to be ready to receive. Which one am I receiving? Which one am I creating a system for? Which one am I leaning into? And so Mars and Uranus, both in Gemini, are creating overwhelm for Venus and Virgo. The North Node, our collective destiny point, at 0 degrees of free-flowing, trust the process Pisces, is also a source of discomfort for this Venus, right? Because Pisces opposes Virgo. There's discomfort in oppositions because that other opposing energy is representing all that you could be, all that is on the other side of what you are embodying, what comes naturally to you. What's on the other side of that is what comes naturally to them. And so with the North Node in Pisces and the South Node in Virgo, we are all collectively, and have been, being challenged to lean further into that free-flowing, trusting the process, trusting spirit, trusting the divine plan, trusting our higher self, and letting go of needing to have the plan be perfect, right? And have it be flawless. Because with the North Node in Pisces, there is no flawless. The flaws are the flawless, right? And so there is discomfort for Virgo energy and this Venus as well as South Node in Virgo in approaching each option with the mind frame that if chosen, we will create the most optimum system, right? So all of the options on the table, a good exercise for this Venus in Virgo is to approach each option with that mind frame. If I choose this option, I know I can create a system that will support it and support me and support all involved, right? So at this point, you have heard me mention 4 degrees a few times when talking about the outer planets specifically, and it's for a very exciting reason. On the 19th, July 19th, which is actually my birthday, I'm very excited about this. The 19th to the 21st, it is a long anticipated astrological event that was discovered by an ancient 20th century French astrologer named André Barbault, who historically has predicted the cycles of outer planets connecting with major historical events. He predicted the fall of Soviet Union in 1991, as well as the pandemic in 2020, and so many more significant events. The event that Barbault has predicted and called Barbault's Basket will occur on July 19th through the 21st of 2026. He predicts it will be a positive omen for society where civilizations reorganize themselves and start questioning politics and what institutions actually stand for. A new start in asking questions about money and government to start the closing of the wealth gap, more peaceful international relations, and less political division. The planets involved in Barbault's Basket, all at 4 degrees, are Jupiter, Pluto, Uranus, and Neptune. So the aspects they are making to form this basket, right? So that these planets are forming a basket on July 19th through the 21st. And this basket is meant to be supportive. So Jupiter in Leo will be opposing Pluto in Aquarius. We talked about that opposition already. So that is, the two sides of the basket. And then Uranus and Gemini will sextile Jupiter in Leo, right? Create an opportunity aspect here. Pluto in Aquarius will sextile Neptune in Aries, right? So there's fire and air signs. And Jupiter and Leo trine Neptune in Aries, right? So the fire signs are trining each other. And Uranus and Gemini trining Pluto and Aquarius, the air signs are trining each other, right? So we have supportive trines, we have supportive sextiles, opportunities, all forming this really cozy basket that is occurring on July 19th. All of the planets are in fire and air signs, which together have the makings of change through bold and daring communications that can inspire and uplift those that are sluggish to support forward movement through diplomacy and humanitarian ideals, courage and curiosity, and pride in who we are that contributes to the collective. The Cancer new moon only occurs 5 days before this long anticipated astrological event, and it gives us an opportunity to personally prepare for it. Cancer equals personal, right? It's a very personal sign. It's about our personal emotional terrain and experiences. And so the new moon is always a fresh start. The only planet not quite at 4 degrees that is part of Barbault's Basket on the new moon on July 14th is Jupiter, which means that we already have had most of the layout of the basket that will officially be woven together on July 19th. The planets forming sextiles, Pluto in Aquarius, sextile Neptune in Aries, and Jupiter in Leo, sextile Uranus in Gemini. These are 4 powerful outer planets that are weaving together opportunities for you to consciously take. Mercury retrograde is bringing in that potent awareness of our personal history. In preparation for this supportive astrological event, we must get personal. First, we need to identify what area of life we need the most support in, and then we must ask ourselves how we felt, how we feel now, and how we want to feel in that area of life. This exercise can help us ask for the specific support we want this basket to facilitate in our own personal lives, which then contributes to the collective supportive outcomes this astrology so wants. So with the Cancer new moon happening 5 days before this Barbolt's basket, right, July 14th and then July 19th, there is this opportunity for us to plant the seeds of awareness, I mean, and an intention. How do we want to be supportive? What do we need support for? What area of life is just parched and wanting that spiritual Gatorade support? That's the question that we're asking at this Cancer new moon. And so I encourage you to take that time, especially because Cancer thrives on taking that time to just be with yourself, to be with these questions, to be with these internal stirrings of the heart and the feelings, right? The emotional terrain of your insides. And so I strongly encourage that. And please do keep your eye out for my guided meditation and energy healing video that will be released after this podcast. And if you're not already a paid subscriber, consider investing that $8 a month so that you can access bi-monthly energy healing videos and so many more benefits. Thank you for being here. Please share this video with someone you think might benefit, and please comment. Let me know your thoughts and what came up for you around this forecast. And I'm wishing everyone a really beautiful Cancer new moon, and I will see you next time. Thanks again for tuning in.